What's up guys, Dylan Sigley here. I've got a very boring one for you today that you absolutely shouldn't watch. It's the story of how I went from 0 to 6 figures in just a short period of time, and hopefully it'll really give you some ideas and lessons that I was able to learn along my journey in drop servicing to apply to your own. So let's do it. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the video. Massive thanks, by the way, for keeping up the excitement, all the emails coming through. It's really awesome. Sorry, by the way, if I haven't gotten back to you yet, but hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions in this video. So what I wanted to do, rather than just shooting through emails, is put together a video series to answer all of the questions that have been coming through, just so I can cover as much of those questions as possible, because I don't really have all the time in the day to answer them all one by one, so this hits a lot more out of the row. But basically I wanted to get into this video the story of how it all began. So my journey from when I first started my very first drop servicing business back in 2015, right up until now, scaling those businesses, all the problems I went through, and right up into learning how to teach other people to do the same. So it is a pretty long story. Hopefully it's rather helpful and enjoyable, maybe even a little bit inspiring, and I'll try not to be too boring and seem like I'm enjoying talking about myself too much. But basically at the beginning of 2015 I was living in Wellington, New Zealand, and I had just finished my master's degree, which is really just the symbol of putting off going out into the world. You know, I was feeling pretty lost at the time and comfortably going about my day, heading to my sales job and occasionally partying a little bit too much, and everything was going fine. I felt like I knew what I wanted, and all I had ever really dreamed of at the point was a stable job as a management consultant. Not that I even knew what that entailed, just something that would allow me to travel, do what I wanted, have a bit of freedom, build businesses, and kind of live the life that I always thought was possible with a degree. And you know, I didn't do that. I stayed in university as long as possible in order to get the best degree possible, because I thought that a degree would mean a stable career, and for the past 5 years my entire life had been focused on study. So I remember 2 years prior, when I was finishing my bachelor's degree, I had the choice of either taking a job at a hotel, being a hotel manager trainee at one of the big global chains, or continue studying, working towards my master's degree. I chose the latter. I convinced myself it was because I wanted an even better job offer and needed a master's degree for that, but deep down I think I knew I wasn't really cut out for the corporate world. Though here I was, just finishing my master's thesis on entrepreneurial motivation, dreaming of becoming one myself, but I was really avoiding the thought because of the ambiguity and impossibility I felt towards it. Of course, I wasn't really thinking any of this at the time. What I was thinking was, wow, this is great, I'm finishing my degree, I'm going to get a fancy job at one of the big management consulting companies, life is great. And the thing is, that desire for something bigger, something more exciting, had definitely dug its claws in, and I didn't even realize it until I saw the call. I still remember where I was and how it all went down. So it was during a period that I had just been applying for as many jobs as possible, taking all of the little questionnaires they make you take as you're doing those job applications, just so they can squeeze you through, put you through the process, pretty menial process really. But it was all through an email that I found out about this course, or a Facebook ad. One day I got home from work exhausted and began applying for more jobs, almost hoping I would fail the tests. So this was back in 2013 when I had just finished my bachelor's degree. And I mean, procrastination is a beautiful thing, because in this case, I don't recall the exact medium, but I did get the message, and it was promising to teach me how to build a little business that funds a life of freedom. And this wasn't a message I hadn't seen before. I had seen it a few times in the past, and it did seem too good to be true. But I was very skeptical at the time. You know, it was the first time I had really heard of a course like this. I knew that digital marketing existed, but I learned a lot more about it during this time. So luckily, as I went through all the little videos this guy was putting out, there was enough free content for me to see that he was legit, and it seemed like a lot of people had gotten results from his stuff. So I kept watching and consuming his free content, and then a friend of mine who's a website designer and I actually built our own site and and planned on building an agency with just this guy's free content. So I felt obligated to finish what I had started, and although I'd already just finished my bachelor's degree, there was a sense of duty to my family when it came to finishing my master's degree. I couldn't back out of that now. I'd already committed to doing my master's degree, and sure, I did have enough cash in the account to buy this guy's course at the time, and it was something I really did want badly, but I always had that sense that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and I felt like I was being pulled back into the rat race of university life just because I was afraid to fully jump in. It's a classic lie we tell ourselves to cuddle up in the womb of procrastination. Do you really need a master's degree, if you want to be an entrepreneur? And I mean, what I did for the next 2 years after refusing that call to adventure is I just focused on studying. My life seemed grey. I was working on a 30,000 word text called Entrepreneurial Motivation and Change, and at least I could dream of an exciting entrepreneurial life. It seemed like I could do this, study and learn how to become a consultant or whatever, but at the time I was still dreaming of building my online business, and I guess I didn't want to be like one of these white-beard professors in the ivory towers reading about what other great men did to distract themselves from the call. So as I was completing my master's degree, my feeling was closer to one of avoidance. I was avoiding the fact I would have to deal with reality after graduating, avoiding the post-graduation reality. I'd be living and working on someone else's dreams in some empty cubicle. But one day, I'd had enough. I tried creating a blog myself. It was called Action Taker Coaching. May still be out there somewhere, but I built the WordPress site myself with my 0-level design abilities. It looked horrible, and I was even working on an ebook, a really dull ebook, but even this was completely pointless because I had no idea what I was doing, and rather than learning slowly and improving over time, I simply stopped, and procrastination took control and defeated me. So here I was in 2015 dreaming about becoming something I didn't really think was possible, and I knew what I really wanted and was trying, a little bit, but I felt completely hopeless. But luckily, one day when I got home from my sales job, or maybe I'd finished some other job application after finishing the master's degree, I saw it again. So another message from this guy about starting an online business. It had been about 2 years since I had seen anything, but again he promised freedom and adventure. So that I was considering that was a possibility, and I deep down knew that it was what I really wanted, and I listened to it this time as well, just like I had in the past when I didn't decide to move forward with it. But I watched all of the content he put out over the next few months, soaked it all in, and the smart thing about it is he released a lot of concepts and actionable content that I could go out and there and use, and it logically made sense. I understood that it was possible, and it kind of broke the veil, made it seem like it was a reality to build one of these businesses. So as he released more and more content, I felt more and more strongly about the fact that this was possible, and now I had finished my master's degree, I felt released from the shackles of obligation and duty. So it was around 2015 at this point. I did 2 more years and got that master's degree, but by the time he released the course, it was set in my mind for some reason that year that no matter what I was buying at this time, I wasn't going to give another 2 years to not living that dream that I really wanted. So he only released it once per year as a kind of a side note. It was a little bit strange. I still don't get why, I guess to make it seem more premium or something, but there was only one chance to get in on a single day, and this was the day. I got home from work the day of the launch, and remember opening up the sales page. It was a web page designed to make you buy stuff, and it was $5,000, or maybe it was $4,000 or $6,000. Don't really remember, but in any case, it was more than I could afford as an $18 per hour sales coach, team leader, or whatever. And luckily, there was a payment plan option, so I could spread out the payments across 6 months, and it was a pretty insane purchase for me to make, but I did it. I wanted this so badly and knew the tools I needed were behind this paywall, but I was willing to do anything to get behind it. So the course was taught over a 3-month period, if I remember correctly. Every week, one new video was released, and we had to implement that. So we chose a business idea, built a website, trained a team, and so on. And by the end of the 12 weeks, I had a fully operational business ready to take on new clients. So it really felt like diving into the unknown. I mean, before I purchased the course, I did feel like it was real just by seeing all of the content, the free content he was putting out, made it seem like it was possible, saw all of the results from people out there already doing it. But it was still like diving into the unknown. I wasn't really sure it was possible until I was in a community of everyone else building these businesses together, and seeing everyone else get results along the way helped to motivate me and inspire me that I could actually do it too, because you always have this doubt that you're not able to do it until you actually do it. And that's true no matter what you're doing. But by the end of that, I felt pretty unstoppable. It was 2016 by this point. I went through 2016 building my business, getting my first sales, just figuring it out. And at this point, I was really committed to making it work. My ads were running on Facebook, I had marketing set up on Google, and our outreach systems were fully operational. So we got our first 2 clients 2 months in January 2016. I still remember walking home from work, looking at my phone and seeing the little PayPal notification showing I just received $1,000. It still was, and it is, the greatest sale I've ever gotten. No matter how much your first online sale is worth, it's always the best one, and everyone I've ever spoken to has said the same thing, whether it's $10 or $1,000. It still feels amazing because it means that it's real. It means it's really possible, and it gives you that feeling that you can really do this. So no matter how much it is, it's always inspirational to get that first sale, and it's great to see other people doing the same. But nonetheless, by around April, I was ready to quit my day job and commit 100% to my business, and I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. In May of 2016, I was still spending a lot on Google ads, and it was going okay, but frankly, I had no idea what I was doing. I was reaching out to companies I thought could use my help, and was jumping on calls with CEOs to pitch them my services, and I was actually living with my mum since April. I was working on my business all day, every day, and then in June, I traveled to Las Vegas to attend an event for the course I had done, and it was amazing to meet so many other people crushing it. But when I returned in July, we hit our first ever $10,000 month, which is a pretty cool feeling. It took us around 7 months to get to that first 10K month, and I was impatient even though we got there. I desired real fast growth, and I couldn't wait. Why should I? So let's go. But by September, I was spending $500 to $1,000 on Facebook ads every single day. And in October, I traveled to Thailand to meet up with another online business friend I met in the course. We were now hitting consistent 10K months, and a lot of people in the course were as well, over and over and over. And I was overwhelmed by the momentum, I suppose, looking back. I wasn't really doubting it was possible, but I was looking up, and I wanted to climb higher and higher. And in November 2016, we had our first minor setback. We lost $3,000 that month, and I felt the weight of the world, pressing down on my shoulders that month. And it was just a small setback, really. In December, we would make another slight loss, but that wasn't a big deal. 2017 was here, and it was time to utterly dominate. So I felt like 2016 set me up really well to kill it, but once we got to 2017, that's when we started scaling it to the moon. So I felt like a living legend. I was really a fraud, I suppose. I had all this material success, but I'd only been doing it for 1 year, and I had a lot more work to do. I was held back by my desires and mindsets that led to my destruction. So what happened was the impatience to succeed and obsession with partying, aka picking up girls, whilst still battling with procrastination, was a cocktail that almost destroyed me. So in 2017, I traveled to Europe from New Zealand at the end of January, where I focused on partying in Budapest, Amsterdam, Nottingham, London, because one of my best friends lived there. And we had a lot of fun, and it was amazing, but I felt the impatience to get to that next level of financial success. I wanted it so bad and convinced myself I should go back to New Zealand for a month and work on my business. So I flew all the way back to New Zealand to live with my mum again, telling myself this was a must do in order to get to the next level, whereas in reality I could have just stayed in Europe building my business instead of spending the $2,000 to fly back to New Zealand and then $2,000 to fly back, because I was only in New Zealand for a month doing that. Then I flew back to Europe again. I guess it was just the procrastination of not having a real plan and just doing whatever I felt necessary in the moment over and over and over. And I tried to do things to get me to that next level fast. But by the end of this 1 month in New Zealand, I had made no real progress. All I had achieved was a desire to go on a bender again, So I traveled to Orlando, Florida, and went to Disneyland instead of the marketing conference I attended, I remember. Then I moved to Krakow. And all I did there was party and make zero progress in building the systems I needed to. And our agency was bringing in new clients with ease, and my team handled the delivery of an amazing service. So I found it hard to bite the bullet and get to work. It's kind of hard when you're getting results automatically, not even doing any work. It's hard to bring yourself to do more work. And the lure of self-destruction through alcohol, debauchery, clubs, girls was too much. But by the end of these 2 months, the cycle was swinging back to wanting to work hard and achieve again. And luckily, we were moving to Belgrade, Serbia, which is not really the place you want to go if you're into maximizing your social life. The clubs are loud, there's no dance floors, lots of tables, so you just stand there looking pretty, not being able to talk to the person next to you at all. But I was working so hard during the 2 months there, sitting all day working, and it just led to depression, really. One night in particular, I couldn't sleep because I just kept thinking about how I wasn't achieving what I wanted, self-pity. And here I was, traveling the world, driving myself insane by feeling like I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I did this over and over and over again. Even one time in Thailand in particular, I remember being on this beautiful beach and just laughing to myself how depressed I felt because I wasn't making great progress in my business or whatever at the time. And I wasn't just enjoying being there on the beach. But thankfully that trip to Belgrade came to an end before I could fully drive myself insane with the pull between living a life full of adventure and achieving my business dreams of a full service drop servicing business. But it was pretty ironic how the freedom I gave myself by building a little online business led me to being pulled in so many different decisions, so many different directions, falling into two categories, really: party and adventure or work and success. Because what these drop servicing businesses will do for you is give you that freedom to choose what you do with your time. And that's really dangerous. Too many options can lead to a little bit of FOMO and the grass is always greener on the other side. And that definitely really happened to me. So I never really fully did either. And I was in the grips of procrastination a lot of the time. Even though I did want to build something, I never really dealt with my impatience and procrastination. And it plagued me, preventing me from committing to a single course of action with monk-like focus. But still, I didn't learn the lesson yet, From Belgrade, we traveled to the party mecca of Europe, which is Budapest. Definitely go there when you go to Europe. And I knew this beast well, due to my initial foray there earlier in the year. But this time we went full party mode again. The pendulum had swung back to working the minimum 1 hour a day and focusing fully on going out as much as humanly possible. And it was a lot of fun, it was amazing and great, but I felt empty still, no real purpose or growth. It was just pleasure life. And closing in on the end of the 3 months I had in Budapest, I went back to Krakow to meet up with a girl I hadn't stopped talking to since my first trip there. And we went to a wedding and traveled around the Poland. It grounded me and calmed me down a bit, and kind of made me realize a few things, At that point, I had full awareness of my pendulum between pleasure-filled self-destruction and impatient success acquisition, both supported by a level of procrastination that never left me feeling satisfied. And this period was really calming and grounding. With the awareness over those issues, I was able to execute my dominion over them. And then once again, I went back to New Zealand, and here I worked on my mind, put myself through the rituals and control, meaning I just tracked everything that I did without exception. I put everything down on paper or Google Docs or Sheets, and I took back control over my direction. So it was all that implementing that I did that allowed me to do between 2017 and 2018 everything I wanted to do. And I did all those things besides, I took my mum on a trip to Japan as well, executed a strategy to build my business, automate it, and having my business automated at such a low cost whilst being high value and just driving so much results that my clients will come back over and over again, it armed me with the knowledge that my propensity for procrastination, self-destruction, and impatience was kind of causing me a lot of issues. So I was able to create a strategy to slay those dragons, and by the time I left for Europe again in 2018, it was done. So I had decided I'd go back and carry out my goals. My strategy and tactics were sound, and I was dedicated to the process. But now the more difficult part of my adventure was here, balancing my desire for progress with the need for adventure. And Now that I had done that, it was pretty great. I came back and I went back to New Zealand again, and then after that I traveled back to Europe. 2018, 2019, I was really just rediscovering my passion for online business and kind of putting everything I had learnt down into writing. And that's when I first started teaching other people how to do the same thing. And it really opened up a Pandora's box of all the knowledge that we could put together. People wanted this information more and more. And that's why I've put together this training for you guys. So if you haven't gone through that free training, definitely do. If you have any questions about this video, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you soon.